What's going on YouTube? Blizzard here once again. This time at you again with some more Honkai Star Rail. And guys, it's been a while since we went over the good old tier list for the Memory of Chaos. It's been a little while, but there has been quite a few changes that I've noticed with Castorice coming out and a bunch of other changes that's been happening recently. I don't think I've done this since Aglaia came out, actually. Now I think about it, so there's gonna be a lot of changes. Tribi, everything has been turned upside down, so let's take a look. All right, so here we are, all right? This tier list, since we last looked at it, is unrecognizable. There's been a whole bunch of changes, and I don't know if I fully agree with everything, but let's go over them one by one, all right? But let's start with the talk of the town, Castorice. The queen herself, the queen of damage, the one who almost single-handedly killed the community, the one who almost brought death upon Star Rail itself with that lethal touch she has. And to be honest, I want to say I kind of like Castorice's strength level right now. Now, a lot of people are going to talk about her as if she's too strong, but I don't think she is. I don't think she's too strong. I think that she's on the same level as the Herda, Maide, and Aglaia. I think they're all on the same level at E0. I think when it comes to Castorice and her power, she gets a lot of power from her Eidolons. And when you take Eidolons into account, yeah, she is outlandish, unbelievable, strong power creep, right? You compare E2 Herda and E2 Castorice. E2 Castorice is out of control. Same thing for Aglaia Maide. It's out of control how strong she gets at E2 and above. But at E0, she's right there with him. She's right there with him, and I think she's in a good spot. And the thing is, that does make me happy because think about last year, last anniversary, and we got Acheron. Acheron was leaps and bounds ahead of everything else that we had. Leaps and bounds. Before her, the top of our DPS was Jingliu, who was doing 200,000-300,000 damage, maybe 400,000 damage when it comes to her skills or her burst, which was a lot of damage back then. But then all of a sudden Acheron came and she was pushing 1 million. And we're like, what in the world is happening here? You know, she was doubling Jingliu's strength and sometimes more so. So Castorice isn't doing that this time around, right? And that's a good sign because it's showing that they might be slowing down with this power creep thing here, right? Or at least be somewhat consistent throughout 3.0. Now, based on how the tier list looks right now, it looks like power creep is in full effect, because the tier 0 units are the most recent units right now. And that doesn't look good, but I do think based on Castorice's power, they are slowing down. You know, it's not Aglaia is falling behind or anything like that. I mean, I will say Aglaia is going to fall behind soon because Aglaia has her strongest team as of right now, whereas Castorice does not. And I say that because RMCs are free unit, and they are destined to be power crept. It's a given at this point. There's going to be a character that's going to be like Fugue for Harmony MC, where there's going to be another character that just comes out. Let's just say Alicia. Let's say Alicia comes out and does everything RMC does, but better, you know. And then guess who's going to see a big power boost when it comes to that? Castorice. But that shouldn't be for many patches, right? During the 3.0 patches, but for many patches. So she should probably be sitting comfortably in the same spot for a while. But Nax is going to give her another power up. So Herda is even at max power yet. So there's that. I think it's a good push right now. I think they're kind of slowing down when it comes to power creep. I mean, with Castorice's Eidolons, you know, it's debatable to say that because how powerful she gets. But yeah. But that's kind of what I want to get about these guys right here. But they are all pretty impressive, you know. They're all pretty impressive. They're handling this AoE meta pretty well. Now, let's talk about Acheron. Acheron, well, that's my baby right there, and she's standing the test of time. A lot of people were saying, oh, she's falling off, face showers blown out the water, fireflies blown her out the water, all kinds of stuff, I'm worried, blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? Guess who's standing firm? Guess who is standing firm despite it all? Acheron, right? She is still tier 0.5. She's right behind these new and improved 3.0 units, and she's killing it. Same with Rappa too. You love to see it because people were doubting Rappa also, but she's still out here kicking names and taking ass.
Kick names, take ass.
Yeah, that's right.
So you know what I'm saying? But Acheron has been doing her thing. And the great thing about Acheron is that, again, just like Castorice, she is not at full power. She's not at full power yet. She doesn't have that second nihility that is going to just shoot her up to the top. And possible sustain that applies a bunch of debuffs. I mean, unless you count Adventuring with his light cone, but you know, I'm sure they can have a more specialized sustain for her maybe sometime in the future. But we do have a Cypher coming who is a quantum nihility who, you know, I'm not going to talk about leaks, but let's just hope that she works real well with Acheron, you know, and that would be another power boost for her again. So Acheron is looking good. Rappa is already at full power, so this is going to be Rappa's peak right here. So after some time, you might see her drop down if the power creep continues. But if you got these characters, if you got the DPSs in the latter half of 2.0, they're still doing work. Now, I say that, but we have these guys over in tier 1. Now, tier 1 isn't bad, all right? I do want to get that out there. A lot of people kind of get wrapped up in this whole thing with, you know, tier 0 being good and everything else being bad. That's not what's going on, all right? A character doesn't have to zero cycle to be good. I mean, this mindset is what makes FOMO stronger, and it's what really makes power creep beat the hell out of you. Because when it comes to power creep, it doesn't have to affect you that much once you realize that tier 1, tier 1.5, tier 0.5 can handle the content, right? It can handle the content. It's just harder and harder and harder to do it. And understandably, when things are harder to do in a game like this, it's less fun a lot of the time. So I can understand the fun starts to diminish. But the fact of the matter is, Dan Hong IL and a good team can beat the content. Is he gonna 1 cycle, 2 cycle, 3 cycle? Maybe not. But he's going to get it done to the point where you should be able to get most, or if not all, the J's that they're giving out for Memory of Chaos, right? So I do want to put that in. I want to hammer that out. I'll hand it out there. But in just talking about where people should be on the tier list, well, Fei Xiao, Fei Xiao getting put down to tier 1, a far drop from Grace from being tier 0, but honestly, I don't know if I fully agree with that. I mean, you know what? I have no choice but to agree with it, because this is an AOE meta that we're in right now. And single target, unless your Fei Xiao is cracked, like mine, then she's going to have a tough time trying to focus on all these different enemies on the field, right? Even though she can take out one enemy pretty well, maybe even 3, but or 2, but when you have 5, that's when we're starting to struggle a little bit. And for me, I have kind of a skewed view a little bit because my Fei Xiao is E3, so she can still, you know, 1 to 2 cycle easily, you know. But for those of you with E0, you know, I can see, you know, the 4 cycles coming and such. So I still think that that's decent, and that's good. But I guess you can say that that's tier 1 level, mainly because of this whole AOE meta. But once the AOE meta starts, and if things stay at the same, around the same level that it is now, then she has room to go back up. But there's that. Same with Firefly. You know, there's been a whole lot of Firefly slander as of late. I think most of it is a joke, but Firefly does have her issues. Rappa did kind of overpower her, and people didn't really want to admit it, but it is what it is there. Unless you have your E2 Fireflies. Your E2 Firefly havers, you guys are sitting pretty also. So you don't have to worry about none of that. You know, Boot Hill's still holding his own. I do think Boot Hill is below these guys, but whatever, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, no arguments with everything else right here. Everybody down here, I don't really have much comments on these people down here. You know, they seem to be in the rightful place. Blade got shot up from hell. That's nice. That's good for him. And I think that's solely because he can be put with Castorice. I think that's the only reason. Well, maybe that's the only reason, because he has Tribby now. He has Sunday. Yeah, and maybe he might get another character that can help him out too. So, and then he's gonna get his buff. So we'll see. Hopefully, what I want these buffs to do when they do come for like Kafka and Blade and such, and Silverwolf, I want them to shoot them up to at least tier 0.5. That's what I want those buffs to do when they come. I don't want these buffs to come and they're like only as like they're tier 1. They're only like doing a little bit better, but they're clearly worse than the new units. No, I want the new units to be the best still, but I do want the old units that get buffed to be right up right below them, to get brought back into relevance again. And hopefully that does happen. So yeah, so we'll see about that. But yeah, but I don't have much comments about the people down here, you know. We know why they're there. They know why they're there. It is what it is, right? So let's talk about the sub DPS or support DPS, right? So we got Tribby over here on top. Now, Tribby is an amplifier, but they're putting her over here, I think, because she does more damage than any of the other Harmony units might do, because mostly Harmony units don't do too much damage themselves, except for like Robin. But I get it. But you know, it's whatever. It's crowded over an amplifier anyway, so she can dominate this on her own. So yeah, Tribby. I was screaming to the mountaintops of how cracked Tribby was going to be. I hope that you guys got the message, and I hope that as many of you guys got Tribby as you could, in terms of meta for your account. If you didn't care about Tribby because of, you know, you just get what characters you like, then, you know, have a ball, have fun. You know, you made the right decision. But for those of you guys who care about meta, the right decision is to make sure you got Tribby on your account, you know, and she's killing it. Every single one of these tier 0 units want Tribby on the team. Tribby works best with her on the team, or is their best option. And it is what it is, you know? It is what it is. And, you know, when you get down here, yeah, sure, you know, they don't benefit from Tribby as much, except for maybe Genuine. She's cracked. She's cracked. She's super universal. Anybody can use her. And she's amazing. They did a great job. And we got Argenti right here. Could have sworn he was a DPS, but I guess he's a sub DPS nowadays. I guess. I'm assuming that's his chemistry with the Herda, which is, you know, she's the emanator of erudition. So, you know, I guess she's doing a job when it comes to that. I don't have Argenti, so I don't know how well they work together. But it makes sense that they would outside of the SP management. But if you can find a way to get around that, then I you know, there we go. And Jade, whew, Jade, she is a beauty. And you know what? Jade's gonna save me some money. I'm telling you that right now, because Jade, listen, Anaxa's coming. I know what he does. He's good. He's great. He's gonna give the Herder another boost. But the way I look at it, do I want husbando or waifu on my team? I think I'm going to choose waifu. And Jade's going to be sitting there holding it down for a few more patches, you know, with my Herder team, all right? Anaxa, you're going to have to sit on the bench. I don't know what to tell you, bro. But yeah, Jade is fantastic with Herder, especially if you have Linksha. I'm going to actually make a video talking about that when it comes to Anaxa, because I think something important to know, when you have Jade and Linksha together, I do think that that does match the power of what Anaxa is going to bring. But that's worth a whole discussion. But yeah, great stuff right there. Little Herder got bumped up. I don't know where she was before, but she should have been here the whole time. You know, I think that does ring a bell, actually. I do remember her being below Serval, and I'm like, she belongs together with Serval. What's going on? But yeah, that's that. Topaz and Hunt March 7th got knocked down because their leader, Fei Xiao, got knocked down. It is what it is. You can't win them all. Maybe another day you'll rise back to the top. You know, I've been hunting for E1 Topaz for a very long time. Still never got it because she always comes at inopportune times. But I guess it's too late now. Oof, Black Swan down again, 1.5. It is what it is. Can't argue with it. Just, yeah, you know, Dot has been abandoned. But I do think that Dot is going to get its chance to shine again. And I'm feeling pretty confident in that. I'm not even going off the leaks, but if you play the Divergent Universe, like, you see that the buffs that they give with the character pictures on it correspond to what those characters' kits are going to be, essentially. And by following that, we've been able to predict what Maide does. We've been able to predict what Tribute is going to do. We've been able to predict what Castorice is going to do. So one of those characters, I think the only character left, well, outside of Cypher, that shows up on in there is the Chrysos heir with the violin, and she does dot buffs. So it's safe to believe that she is going to be a dot savior. So let's hope and pray that that comes soon. It'll be nice. That'd be nice. These guys, we don't talk about them. They're the forgotten ones and such. It is what it is. It is what it is. But now we go over to Amplifier, right? Where Tribute should be. And it's looking like to make a lot of sense, right? We have Sunday, who wants to be played with Maide. Sunday, who wants to be played with Agalea. Sunday, who can be played with Castorice. But why would you do that when you have RMC over here? He can be played with Herder to a very high degree. Sunday with Herder is actually much better than I originally thought it would be before Herder came out. But as soon as I got to play them together, I was like, oh, wow, this is actually really well. It works out really well. So there's that. Sunday can be played with Acheron, even though I still think that Sparkle does that job better in that situation. And Sunday can be played with a lot of people. He's a monster. It is what it is. And even Genuine too. He's the reason why Genuine is where he is. He was a great pickup. He belongs up here in tier 0. RMC, you love to see a free unit in tier 0. You love to see it. It's like a breath of fresh air in the games like this. And any of the gacha games, you don't see a free unit placing so well in the high tiers. I don't think in any of the main 4 gachas, you don't have free units in the tier 0s of the more popular tier lists. And here we are, RMC is here. So it's definitely a win. It's not me trying to say that, like, you know, Star Rail's the most generous or anything like that, or at least predatory or something. That's not what I'm trying to say. It's just a breath of fresh air to see that happen, and rightfully so. You know, it's not glazing. They really are just that good. RMC is one of the most flexible and important characters you can have on your account. And everybody has them on their account as long as you did the story. Maide loves RMC. The most powerful unit in the game right now, Castorice, RMC is her best in slot. You know, RMC works great with Aglaya. RMC works great with Herda. You know, RMC is just killing it. Wonderful. You love to see it. It's awesome. So Tier 0 looks exactly what I think it should look like. Now we got 0.5 Zhao Shou. To this day, I still think Zhao Shou is overrated. I do think he is. I mean, I don't have him. I couldn't get him right now, actually. I actually have enough J's to get him. And I've kind of wanted to get him because I really like Acheron. I just pulled for Castorice too. I need to chill out, and I'm just going to try and get a new character. But I do think he's overrated because at the end of the day, out of all these units here, the only one he makes the strongest is Acheron, and everybody else has one or two options. Mainly at least two options that are above Zhao Shou. I just don't get it, right? He's just not as great as Ron May. He just isn't. He's not as great as Ron May. I don't know what to tell you. I just don't know what to tell you. Because Ron May is out here just going crazy. Ron May, who we have for free now, you know, despite what people say, that is a great thing that Ron May is free. But Ron May works good with Castorice. I don't like Ron May with My Day. Ron May works good with Castorice. If you don't have Tribi, you know, that's an option you can put up there. Ron May works decent with Herda. Rappa needs Ron May, you know. Boo Hill needs Ron May. Firefly needs Ron May. You know, there's a lot of top tier players here that want and need Ron May, you know. And even though the characters that really want her aren't the top of the meta now, which is why I think her placement is fair. But you know, she's a pretty vital unit, and I think it's a great thing we got her for free. What would have been real crazy if they gave us Fugue for free instead. That would have been crazy, because I know a lot of people struggle to get Fugue because she came right before 3.0, and now she's here again with Castorice, and it's just like people aren't going to be able to get her. You know, it is what it is. She came with Sunday, and Sunday was obviously the better pick. Well, I'm not gonna say obvious because it was a throw up in the air. To what playstyle are you going to do? I actually made a video when she was coming out talking about which one you should get, and one of the main points I was saying is, what do you want to do? Do you want to invest in the future with Sunday, or do you want to perfect what you've gotten in the past with Fugue? And if you went either way, I don't think you really made a bad decision, even though Sunday is in tier 0, because if you have the premium team for your Rappa or your Firefly, they are doing just as well as some lower invested tier 0 units are doing. So, and having a Fugue is high investment in my opinion when it comes to the break unit. So, yeah, I do think tier 0.5 is looking fine, except for Zhao Shou. You know, I ain't a Zhao Shou hater. I like him. I actually wanted him on my account, but he's with these guys. He's with Sparkle and HMC. But it is what it is, right? And yeah, there's not really much to say about these guys right here. They are where they belong. It is what it is there. I've been waiting for Sparkle to get her time to shine once again. And I was so happy that she's worked well with My Day, but Sunday is just better, and better by like a decent amount, unfortunately, you know. Just My Day being able to go more often to get those extra charges is just pretty big. And you can make Sparkle super fast to get him going, which works out really well. I'd say Sparkle is his second best option, but you know, even if you have Sparkle eat too, Sunday is still better. So it is what it is. I was hoping for Sparkle to get her time to shine, but it has not come yet. And at this point, I don't think that it's coming anytime soon anymore. I think she might start to fall down, unfortunately. But we'll see. We'll see. They can make all different types of characters. But yeah, Pella, you know, not much to say there. So on and so forth. These guys, I'm not going to say anything about these guys. They're down. Silver Wolf, your time to shine will come once again. Don't worry, I have faith in you. You will return, you know, with the buffs. Hopefully, make her AoE. Please, God, make her AoE. And then we got the sustains. And new right here, who is in tier 0, finally, Hua, who belonged here all along. For a very long time, she belonged in tier 0, and that is where she's going to stay. We have a new sustain coming when it comes to a Hyacine. I think that Hua still, when Hyacine comes, Hua still belongs right here. They got the eyeball on the Venturine. I think he should stay. Linksha, I think she should stay. Matter of fact, what I think should happen, or they got an eyeball on him, and hopefully the eyeball is saying, bring him up to tier 0.5. Because guess what? My Day and Castorice, 2 tier 0 units, love Luocha. And a Gallagher, they love Gallagher too. But I actually prefer, I have both of them, and I prefer Luocha. They say they're the equal, in some situations Gallagher might be better. I don't see that. I do think Luocha, I do feel Luocha does feel more comfortable when it comes to Castorice and My Day teams. I just think they're doing the thing. You love to see it. I always said, if I remember what video, I don't remember what video, but I said that it's very easy to make Luocha come back, and that is to take advantage of the fact that he heals more than anybody else in the game. And if you have a character that wants more healing, well, guess what? Luocha can take care of that. That can be his utility, you know? So, yeah, and that character finally came a year and a half later, but they finally came, you know? So it is what it is. So that's the thing with that. I think sustains are looking fine. I don't think eventually needs to move at all. But yeah, hopefully they move Luocha up. I think he belongs there. He's great. And if he moves up, you know what that means? The characters that we got for free, or the choice of characters we got for free, are both tier 0.5 units, which is a great thing. So there's that. Fushuan, you know, it is what it is. I always said the same thing I always said about Fushuan. For a newer player, she is great. She is fantastic. I believe that you'll only appear if you're a new player, because she gives you that crit rate, which is very essential, very good. She keeps the team alive fantastically, but when you have your characters built better, that crit rate is just not needed anymore. Especially when you have some money like Sunday giving you a 20% crit rate and RMC giving you a 10% crit rate. You know, you don't need that crit rate from her anymore. It's just not as valuable, and it is what it is. But yeah, and then these guys down here. Why do they put down Japard? Why did they do that? What did he do? What did he even do?
What I do?
You know, you were hella wrong for what you did.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But hey, you know, I guess Bailu's holding on strong, I guess. But yeah, that's a tier list right here. A lot of changes. I kind of went over every single character, even the ones that didn't recently change, because I haven't talked about this in a long time. Now, there's a lot of thoughts that I need to get out there for you guys. But yeah, what do you guys think of this tier list here? Is there anything that you agree with, disagree with? Any takes that you thought that I had were hot, or any takes that you thought that I was spot on with? You know, definitely let me know in the comments down below. What characters do you have, and do you find that are performing well for you? Feel free to discuss that in the comments. And like the video if you like the content I'm giving. Of course, subscribe to the channel so you get more content like this. With that, here, let's